heard about healthcare real estate? Well, it's the new black, not aged care, which is going through the Royal Commission ringer at the moment. This is private hospitals, bioscience and medical centres where you might be able to go in future to get a broken arm fixed, a dialysis or a consult for a mental health issue. Now, the yields are higher than commercial real estate and there are still relatively few players in the space.
One of those is Barwon Investment Partners, now growing rapidly in the sector.
Now, I caught up with Barwon's founder and director, Rob Morrison, on the sidelines of the Australia-Israel Chamber of Commerce's packed-out property summit. Rob Morrison, very nice to talk to you. We've got a packed house here. Why is property in healthcare the new black?
Well, I think people are realising that we've got a sector in Australia, and it's actually globally growing very strongly. It's about 10% of Australia's GDP, growing at about 5 to 6% per annum. And let's face it, all of us are connected to the healthcare system in some way. And I think what people are now starting to realise is that, you know, rather than just thinking about office, retail and industrial as being where you should invest, maybe the healthcare sector offers some growth and some opportunity. Precisely what assets are we talking about? Well, the healthcare sector kind of spreads from the smaller end, which is the medical centres, through to referred services, which could be imaging centres, day surgeries, right through to large private hospitals. So my firm, Barwon Investment Partners, we invest across that whole spectrum from the small assets, 5 to 20 million, right through to large private hospitals. How do your returns compare with, say, the retail sector at the moment? Well, the healthcare sector's had a good 5 years. You can imagine with a lot more investor interest in the sector, valuations have been growing, the sector's been growing, and also rents have been growing. And so in that environment, it's good returns for investors. And the nice thing about healthcare, of course, is that it's a very stable sector. So it's not that highly correlated with the broader economy. And that's one of the things that's attracting investors. They're saying, healthcare, even when times are tough, if the economy's slowing a bit, you still get sick, you still need to go see your doctor, you still need to have that procedure, and so the healthcare sector tends to be a little bit recession-proof, a little bit able to kind of stand those headwinds when it needs to. Interesting, though, that there's not a lot of opportunity for retail investors to invest in this sector, is there? Not at the moment. A few years ago there was one listed healthcare REIT, but that's since been privatised. So at the moment there are limited opportunities, unless you want to do a small private investment into a local medical centre, which some are starting to do now. They're buying that kind of yield. But if you're a retail investor, yes, there's not too many opportunities at the moment, but that may change in the future. So, Rob, how do you look at an investment opportunity? What are you looking for? For us, it all starts with the tenant. We want a nice, strong tenant. So at the smaller end, it'd be a very good GP clinic, maybe with 10 to 15 GPs, successful, busy, with a nice array of allied health services around them. So pharmacy, imaging, it could be a diabetes unit or an eye unit. But it's like a little shopping centre in a way, but all focused on health. So we love those health hubs. And then going up the size to private hospitals, it's all about the mix of the services being offered. Is it high acuity? So that means high intensity medicine, surgery, cardiac, emergency. That mix of health services is very important in determining whether it's of interest or not. And I suppose in a way, sadly, mental health is another big opportunity for this particular sector, isn't it? It is a big opportunity, and sadly, all of us have friends and family who are somehow touched by mental health challenges, and what we're seeing right across the country is this is becoming a very big part of the healthcare system. But unfortunately, it hasn't been a part of the healthcare system. It's had a lot of infrastructure in the past, a lot of funding, but I think that's changing. I think the government recognises how important this is. We certainly see how important it is, and so we're allocating some of our investment capital towards, building better mental health facilities. And at the moment, we're very focused on Canberra as being a new opportunity for us. But there are other opportunities around Australia where we want to provide better quality care, working closely with our operating partners to do something about the mental health challenges that we're seeing across the country. Now, Rob, you are not yet, you're keeping your powder dry in terms of aged care. We've got 3 listed companies in aged care, but obviously there's been the, nightmare of the Royal Commission. Is that why you're waiting? Look, the aged care sector must provide opportunities for us, we think, and with the ageing population, with the baby boomers now hitting 65, heading in towards that aged care sector, clearly opportunity, but it's been a hard area to invest in, and I think the outworkings of the Royal Commission, have unsettled a few potential investors. They're saying, well, is the sector ready yet? We're optimistic. We think the government will respond. We think the sector will respond.
What needs to happen for the investor confidence to come back, do you think, say, someone like yourselves?
We think better regulation, more funding into the sector, and we want
Government funding.
Government funding, but also general investment across the sector, and we want to see better quality care and high quality operators that are making a consistent, sensible profit, and in the end they're the types of partners that we'd like to be partnering with. So it's on watch. We hope to be doing something over the next few years, but we'll see what comes out of the Royal Commission.
And finally, from a mergers and acquisitions point of view, there are only very few players in the property market, but there has been quite a lot of activity. Is that going to continue, do you think?
I think so. We are seeing now the larger Australian superannuation funds looking at the healthcare sector as being a desirable area to invest in, healthcare property. We're seeing more private equity operators entering, and I think we will see more listed vehicles in the future. But as I've said many times, there's nothing surer than demographics, and when you look at the demographic outlook for the healthcare sector, that does spell opportunity for investors, and I think we'll see the sector growing.